his body according to what he has done, whether it be good or bad. Keeping God's commands is what counts. 1 Corinthians 9:24. Don't you know that they who run in a race run all, but one receives the prize? So run that you may obtain. Acts 10:35. In every nation he that fears him and works righteousness is accepted with him. Revelations 22:12. My reward is with me to give to every man according as his work shall be. 2 Peter 1:10. If you do these things, you shall never fail. Romans 2:5-6. The righteous judgment of God, who will render to every man according to his deeds. Romans 2:13. For not the hearers of the law are just before God, but the doers of the law shall be justified. James 1:27. Pure religion and undefiled before God is this, to visit the fatherless and the widows in their affliction, and to keep himself unspotted from the world. And finally, Revelations 20:12-15 says, I saw the dead, small and great, stand before God, and the books were opened, and the dead were judged out of those things which were written in the books according to their works. And they were judged every man according to their works. Notice it does not say faith. And whosoever was not found written in the book of life was cast into the lake of fire. So clearly, salvation by works was just as important after the cross as before, and for believers in faith to contend otherwise is a poor argument indeed. Not only is it important to note that all of these comments were made after the cross, but that Paul, the very architect of salvation by faith, made some of them. In fact, when all is said and done, believers in faith alone should note that several verses clearly prove that faith without works is useless. The following verses imply, if anything, that works can survive without faith, but faith can't survive without works. James 2:24 says, You see then how that by works a man is justified, and not by faith only. James 2:17 and 2:20 are about as clear as any verses when they say, respectively, quote, Even so, faith, if it has not works, is dead, being alone. And the other one says, faith without works is dead. James 2:26 says, As the body without the spirit is dead, so faith without works is dead also. And James 2:14 says, What does it profit, my brethren, though a man says he has faith and has not works? Can faith save him? The book of James is the death knell for all those who assert that you're saved by faith alone. No wonder a major founder of Protestantism and belief in faith only, Martin Luther, called the book of James an epistle of straw. It runs directly counter to a key teaching of Protestantism. In our next program, we'll discuss two other paths to salvation, grace and whim. We'd like to conclude today by reading a letter from a Reverend Beebe, in which he criticizes our pamphlet entitled, The Bible is God's Word? His letter has the kind of material we love to refute, expose, and critique. It says, quote, "Regarding your little tract, it's interesting to see how the introduction exposes your hypocrisy." He's talking about me. "First, you who are about to debunk the Bible as being unreasonable and inconsistent appeal to it. I know the Book of Mormon is unreliable and inconsistent. That's why I would never quote from it in order to persuade anyone of anything other than it's false," unquote. In response to this, I said, "To say you're off base is an understatement. How can I show what is wrong with a body of literature without first reading it and then citing every difficulty worthy of consideration? I use the Bible against itself, and that's appealing to the Bible? How's that appealing to the Bible? What could be more destructive to the Bible than the Bible itself? The Bible is its own worst enemy. I'd hardly call that appealing to the book. I'd be foolish to focus my attention on other topics when those topics are not inspired in the Bible, in the eyes of the Bible's believers. Hypocrisy would only be involved if I denied the Bible's validity and then turned around and cited it as an authoritative and reliable source, or if I denied it while refusing to read it. Yet I, on the other hand, read the Bible constantly, deny its validity, and quote it to prove its falsity. No turning around or flip-flopping is involved in my procedure, none whatever. So how's that being hypocritical? I'm backing up my original contentions with proof. I don't appeal to the book in the manner you imply. I merely quote it to prove my case and because it's a source you believe in. Secondly, you say you would never quote from the Book of Mormon to persuade anybody of anything other than it's false. How narrow-minded can you get? You portray yourself as an open-minded individual while admitting that you would never quote from the Book of Mormon except to accomplish a very narrow agenda. That's being open-minded? Now who's being hypocritical? There are other reasons to quote from a book with which you disagree, than to refute its faults. What could be more effective than quoting from a book in which someone believes fervently in order to prove that it denounces something that person is doing, teaching, believing, or saying? As I've said before, our publication stresses far more than just contradictions to prove that the Bible is anything but divinely inspired. That completes our presentation, and please join us later for the 66th edition of Biblical Errancy Commentary, when we'll continue showing why the Bible is nothing more than the flawed composition of some fallible human beings. Thank you for listening.